Appreciate it. Huge
I think
news
we
conference
do.
today.
Yeah.
Huge news conference today. Op-ed in the New York Times, and this was not from an anonymous writer. It was Justin Gills, former environmental reporter, called it the most important piece of legislation ever passed by any government. Would you agree?
Well, that's very complimentary. I don't think I'd go that far. It's very important, but relative to where we have to go to get to zero carbon emissions, we have such a long way to go. We're like at the beginning of Mount Everest trying to climb. And California is doing a lot. We're doing more than any other state, but we have more to do.
Joe Sixpack sitting at home going, okay, this is all great, but will my taxes and energy bills go up even more as we strive to reach these goals?
No, if we do it intelligently. So we want clean energy, but we want affordable energy prices, and we want reliable energy. So when we turn on the lights, they actually turn on. And to do that, we need a very careful plan. It's not just one size fits all, just do one thing or the other. It's doing a lot of things, letting the technology catch up with us, building a regional grid, getting the cost of batteries down so we have storage. We have to do many, many things to be able to provide clean energy, cheap energy, and reliable energy, and that's our goal.
I want to talk about the PG&E financial responsibility when wildfires occur. Bill on your desk, of course, many are calling a bailout for PG&E. By alleviating their liability. Will you sign it, and do you consider it a bailout?
Well, I'll deal with the bill very soon, but I wouldn't use the word bailout. The fact is, we have an electric utility, and there's some causation of fires. That's to be determined. I don't want to prejudge that, but this bill is intended to make sure that PG&E and the other utilities can shoulder any fire liabilities that may get into billions and billions of dollars and still be in business to serve their customers.
And so for taxpayers who say, why should we be the ones that keep
Well,
them afloat?
well, why should you be able to turn on your light and get electricity? You have to have somebody. You don't generate electricity, as far as I know. And therefore, you need somebody else to do that. That somebody else has to be able to hire people, have trucks, have wires, have transformers. And so all we're trying to do is to make sure that we have strict accountability on the part of utilities, but we have utilities that can provide us the electricity and gas when we need it, which is usually every day.
Is it a case of too big to fail, kind of?
Well, you could say that. Government's too big to fail, too. A lot of people aren't too happy with government. So, look, we got to make it better, but certain things we are vitally dependent on. And right now, we got some lights coming out. If we didn't have an electric company, you wouldn't have these lights. So you got to pay the bill, but we want to make sure that bill is fair and reliable and reasonable.
Governor, I want to talk about your forest carbon plan on a day like this where you're still seeing some smoke from one of the fires burning. We lose track, which ones are coming. Cutting down millions of dead trees and snags to make wood chips to be burned for use in energy plants. How important is that? Can you elaborate on that plan?
Well, it's expensive. We got to get rid of those dead trees. We got to thin out the forests. People tell us that the natives who lived here for 12,000 years at least before the white man showed up had a thinner forest because they did conscious burning. We're going to have to do that too. We're going to have to manage the forests, and how the heck we get rid of those 120 million trees, I'm not sure. Some of it is turning it into energy. Certainly it's thinning it out. That's a pretty complex challenge, and we're going to do everything we can to meet it.
And for environmental critics who say it would worsen climate change by burning that?
Well, that's why, look, leaving them there creates a problem, taking them out creates a problem. So we got to kind of wend our way through these two poles to get to the right balance and the right answer.
I asked some of our viewers what they would ask you when I found out that I was going to have some time with you. And one question has to do with wildfires, saying thinning the forest is all fine and good, but a lot of these fires have started on the sides of roads, Interstate 5 most recently, one country wildfire. Is there thought or an effort to put some use in clearing out the sides of roads so the brush doesn't get so high along California's main highways?
We do that, and we may not be doing enough. So I'm glad your viewer brought that to my attention. Definitely, I'll be checking with that before the evening is out.
Crime and punishment questions. Crime Survivors Resource Center So California is a very environmental friendly state. It's not very victim friendly in their estimation, pointing to the number of commutations your office has given out along with pardons. What do you say to critics who worry that violent offenders are being let out?
I'd say, look, California is very victim friendly. I was around before we had some of these victim compensation laws and before we had Marcy's Law and other victim rights matters. We used to have 20,000 people in the state prisons. We now have 130,000. The legislature went on a rampage and has passed over 5,000 separate criminal statutes, and every year they want to pass a new one because people say, not enough. Look, people serve a time. It could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 25 years, it could be their whole life, or it could be the death penalty. We have different penalties, but not everybody goes to prison forever. And it should be some comfort to know that the violent crimes today are lower than they've been in 20 or 30 years. So they're about the same as they were in the 70s, maybe slightly higher. And that's a pretty good record.
I got the tap. The final question. As you end your long political career and your head hits the pillow at night, what do you think about the people you've met, the things you wish you would have done differently, or the things that you accomplished, or all of the above?
Well, I'm thinking about the future. I'm building a house out in the country. We're off the grid, so it's totally 100% solar. I've got a little olive orchard. I'm making olive oil. My first year I got a gold medal in New York. So I got a lot on my agenda right at my fingertips. And then where appropriate, I'll jump into some political causes and campaigns where I think I can do some good.
So you're not done. You're not going to turn it off.
I'm not done yet. You never know where I'll pop up next.